Hello everyone, welcome to the deep spot sampling portion of your VLAP training refresher.
A few reminders about your VLAP sampling. We recommend that you sample once per month during the summer. That's typically in June, July, and August. If you'd like to sample more frequently or less frequently, contact the VLAP coordinator. We typically recommend that you sample between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. during peak lake productivity. All samples have a 24-hour hold time. Samples need to be analyzed within 24 hours of collection. So we recommend that you drop samples off to a laboratory within 22 hours of collection. Don't forget to consult your checklist for all the items you need for your sampling event. The checklist is located in your field manual.
Once you make sure you have all your equipment necessary and you navigate to your deep spot, make sure you have your field manual. Follow along your field manual on each part of your sampling process. Also make sure you have your sampling station map. This will help you find your deep spot if you don't know where it is. You could also navigate to your deep spot using GPS coordinates or triangulation along 3 points along the shoreline. Once you're at your deep spot, or you think you're at your deep spot, check the depth using a depth finder. So the depth finder will help you make sure that you're at the right spot and it's deep enough. Once you get the depth at your deep spot, you're going to want to record that on your field data sheet. So that's on the upper portion of your field data sheet.
Once you've confirmed you're at your deep spot, you'll want to anchor. You'll be here for a little bit. If you drift due to wind conditions or wave conditions, simply reset at the deep spot and continue your sampling.
Okay, so once you record the depth on your field data sheet, you're going to want to complete the weather and precipitation conditions. Also, remember to mark the date and time you sampled on your field data sheet and who is sampling. So you look at the cloud conditions and the cloud cover. Today's clear. It's pretty warm. It's between 61 and 80 degrees. It's a little breezy. The water surface is little ripples. And also note the water level for this time of year for the lake. Is it high? Is it normal? Or is it low? And then record any previous precipitation. Did it rain 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours ago? If you didn't have any rain within the last 72 hours, mark down how many days it's been since you had your last rainfall. And also, if you did have rain within the last 24 to 72 hours, and if you know how much, please indicate it on the appropriate section here. So the next thing you're going to do is actually collect your deep spot samples. So what I like to do is follow right along the field data sheet. So the next section here really is your deep spot samples. And that you're going to use your camera bottle, your messenger, and your calibrated chain. So how do you hook this up? Well, let's take the clip off your chain. And then what we do is we just thread the chain right through this hollow tube through the middle of the camera bottle. So it comes out the bottom here. The most important part here is to clip the chain on the bottom of the camera bottle so you don't lose the camera bottle. So I usually like to put it through a couple of the little rungs on the chain just to make sure we have a little bit of extra safety there. And this is your camera bottle all set up. To collect your deep spot samples, you actually need to open the bottle and have it in a locked open position. So you pull both ends apart until it clicks and it locks and open, like so. To make sure, you can hold the chain just to make sure it stays open before you put it in the water. So you're going to lower the camera bottle to the desired depth. Now the depth on the chain is marked every half of a meter. So for example, if we're going to 2 meters, we're going to find the 2 meter depth. We're going to put that marker right on the surface of the water. Then we're going to take the messenger, and the messenger clips on the chain like so. So you have your 2 meter mark on the water surface, and then you let the messenger drop. And when you feel the bottle close, you just pull the bottle up. I like to either remove the messenger here or put it in the boat. I like to keep it on the chain so I don't lose it. When you remove the camera bottle from the water, make sure you grab the rod with one hand and then the bottom of the bottle with another hand. If you just grab the rod or the side of the bottle, it tends to open up like that. Once you have your camera bottle all set up, you're going to need to check what depths you have to sample at. The depths are usually predetermined by the DES biologist based on the dissolved oxygen and temperature profiles. We'll write those depths on your data sheet for you, so you can either sample at those same depths the next year, or you can do a temperature and oxygen profile to determine new depths if they change monthly. So for today, we're going to sample at 2 meters. Your deep spot samples will consist of a large white bottle and a small brown bottle at each depth that you sample at. I like to pre-label my bottles, at least with the lake name in town, before I get out to the water. And if you know your sample depths, you can also put that on your bottles as well. Make sure you have the lake name, town, the depth you're sampling at least the date on the bottle. We'll go through this process again. So we're going to go down to 2 meters. You put the 2 meter mark right on the surface of the water. Drop the messenger. Pull your camera bottle back up out of the water. Grab the rod and the bottom of the bottle. If you're in a boat where you can set the camera bottle on the side, that works really well if you're sampling alone or if you just need a hand. Or you can also lean the bottle on your shoulder as long as you keep hold of the bottom so it doesn't open up on you. So first, you're going to want to check to make sure you don't have any sediment in your sample, especially if it's the hypolimnion sample. So check to make sure it's clear. You take your large white bottle and you're going to give it a little rinse with some lake water. Then you're going to fill your bottle back up. At this point, it doesn't have to be all the way full, but what you need is enough water to fill your small brown bottle. Now this bottle contains acid, so you don't want to overfill it. So you want to make sure that you can see how full you're filling it, which is why we don't fill from the camera bottle. It's not as safe. So I'm going to take my large white bottle and pour into my small brown bottle. You don't rinse the small brown bottle either. And you're just going to fill it up to the shoulder. Make sure that's nice and tight. We're going to fill our large white bottle back up. And this time you're going to fill it all the way up. So right up to the top there. Just cap that. And then you're going to put your samples in a cooler on ice. You're going to repeat that for each step that's listed on your data sheet for your deep spot sample section of your sampling. Alright, so after you finish collecting your deep spot samples, the next thing you're going to do is collect your chlorophyll A sample. So once again, I'm following along on the field data sheet, but I also want to mention that you have a checklist that you can complete while you're sampling, and it walks you through each step of every process that you need to follow. So you have 3 references. You have your field data sheet, you have your checklist, and you also have your field manual. So there are 2 methods for the chlorophyll sample. You can collect a sample using the composite method or an integrated tube. The composite method actually collects a camera bottle full of water from different depths in the water column from the surface to either 2/3 of the way down in the water column or to your mid-metalimnion or the middle of the thermocline. So basically what that's doing is collecting a column of water from the surface to where we believe the algal growth is stopping, or your photic zone, so where the sunlight can penetrate to. So today we're going to start with the composite method, and we're going to collect a sample at 1 meter and 2 meter, which is down to 2/3 of the way down in the water column. The composite method, you need a bucket, and you need to rinse your bucket out to make sure that there's nothing in there so that it's clean. You can always rinse your bucket before you head out into the field, or you can rinse it using a little bit of lake water. Then you take your camera bottle again. You go down to your desired depth. I'm going to start at 2 meters. I'm going to put that 2-meter mark right on the surface of the water. Then I'm going to empty the whole bottle of water into the bucket. You could also measure a specific amount of water from each depth and put it into the bucket, but the important thing is that it's the same volume from each depth and that we mix it in a bucket. So the easiest way to get water out of a camera bottle is to hold the side and plunge down on the top. So that was 2, now we're going to go to 1, which is pretty close to the surface. And you're going to put the 1 meter sample in the bucket. Then you're going to take your large brown bottle. So this bottle does not contain acid. Once again, I labeled it prior to coming out into the field. So I did a 2 meter composite, which means it's a 1 and 2 meter composite. So you need to rinse this. I rinse right into the bucket, so I just put this right in here, get a little water, rinse, and then fill it right up. You could also, if you don't want to fill right into the bucket, obviously you could pour from a corner of the bucket. Or some people have funnels that they use to help fill a bottle. Whatever method works for you. Make sure that's full, and then you're going to put it in your cooler on ice. And you're done with the water, so you can dump that. And you're also, at this point, you're done with the camera bottle if you've done your composite method. So you're going to take this apart. You can unclip it. Usually much better. There we go. Take the messenger off. Put that in a safe place.
Here's another brief overview of the chlorophyll composite method for both stratified and unstratified lakes. The integrated tube method is designed to collect a column of water from the lake's surface to a desired depth at the same time. It's useful when you need to collect a chlorophyll sample from a depth greater than 4 or 5 meters. To set up the integrated tube, attach the chain to the eye hook on the weighted end of the tube using the chain clip. Follow this method to collect your integrated tube sample. Using the integrated tube is generally a two-person job, as you can see in this photo.
And then the next thing you want to do is your Sekidisk transparency. Once again, that's on your field data sheet. And it's the last section of your field data sheet. And there are two methods for the Sekidisk. One is with just the Sekidisk, and the other is viewing the Sekidisk with your view scope. One is done on the sunny side of the boat, and the other is done on the shady side of the boat. So if you're starting with just using your Sekidisk here, you're going to want to take your measurements on the shady side of the boat, if there is one. We don't have a lot of shade here today. Maybe we'll turn a little bit. You could always try to turn yourself onto a shady side here. All right, this would be the shadiest it's going to be. A nice shady spot here. So what you're going to do is you're going to drop your disc into the water. You want to take your polarized sunglasses off. Don't cheat. And you're going to watch the disc go down into the water until you can't make out any portions of the disc. All right, and then you're going to pull it up slowly until you can just make out the white portions of your disc. When you can make out the white portions of your disc, you're going to grab the chain at the water surface and see what meter marker you're close to. So this is 2, and then this is 2.5. So estimate we're about 2.2 meters. And you're going to write that depth down on your data sheet. If you could see the Sekidisk all the way to the bottom, you're going to check off yes, I could see the Sekidisk on the bottom and write the depth here. I cannot see it on the bottom. You're going to repeat this measurement at least once, so you need at least 2 measurements to get an average, but you can take as many readings as you'd like. Then we're going to move on to the sunny side of the boat. And we're going to use our view scope on the sunny side of the boat. So you're going to want to look through the view scope to see the Sekidisk. You're going to repeat the process. So drop the disc down into the water. Until you can't see it. Then you're just going to pull it up until you can see the white portion. Mark that on the water's surface. And we're a little bit closer to 2.5 this time, so I'd say about 2.3. Whether you can see the disc on the bottom or not. Repeat the process and then put your average value in the average section of your field data sheet. Once you're done with your transparency, you're actually done with your deep spot sampling. So you can pack everything up here and then head on to your tributary sampling. Or if you've decided to do a phytoplankton sample, you can use your plankton net and collect a plankton sample. So here's your plankton net, and in your cooler you should have a small glass bottle like this. Ideally you're going to take your phytoplankton sample from the same depth that you collected your chlorophyll composite. So you're going to filter water through that same water column. So we're going to go down to 2 meters and with the net and then pull it back up through the water column. So this is just a little preservative, so take that out of your bottle. Unhook your chain from your Sekidisk. And then attach this to your plankton net. You want to make sure the clip on the bottom of your net is closed. Alright, and your plankton net is set up. So now we're going to go down to 2 meters. So just slowly put the net into the water, find your 2 meter mark or whatever meter mark you need, put it on the surface, and then you slowly and steadily pull the net up through the water. You don't want to pull the net up too fast because if you do, you won't actually filter the water through the net. It'll just go over the top. So once you have it, you're just going to rinse the side of the net a couple times. And we're just going to open the clip, let the water go into the bottle, so that's empty. And here you have a nice bottle of phytoplankton and zooplankton. And then we preserve the sample using an iodine solution called Lugol's. So we're just going to put about 5 drops in here. Gives it a nice amber color. You're going to review your field data sheet to make sure that you completed all the portions of your field data sheet. You're going to review your checklist, make sure if you wanted to fill it out that you filled it out. Sign your checklist and head on to your tributary sampling. The completed front side of your field data sheet should look similar to this. And your completed checklist should look similar to this.